Alright, welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today we're going to do a new video. Today I'm going to show you how to make your GoPro footage look like this. Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed that little cinematic sequence. Instead of analyzing the whole sequence, we're just going to analyze one of those clips in order to save time. And today I'm going to talk about 3 ways in order to make your GoPro footage look more cinematic.
Let's go!
Alright, so we're going to be working with this clip. I'm just going to run through the unedited version real quick. Alright, so this is obviously already a super cool clip that was filmed for my senior year of high school. However, we can do a little more to make the clip look like this. Alright, so like I said earlier, there's 3 things that I did there. The first is stabilization. Alright, so the first way in order to get stable footage is to have a stabilizer like this one right here. This thing I bought off a Chinese website for like 150, 200 bucks, and it keeps your camera super steady. It's upside down right now, but you just flip the footage around when you're editing it. And yeah, it works super well. You can move it all around and the camera stays relatively steady. Alright, the second way to get stable footage is to do it in the editing software. I'm using Adobe Premiere Pro. However, you can do this in literally any editing software, even iMovie. So basically what you want to do is you want to make sure the clip is selected. We're going to go to the effects panel. We're going to search up warp stabilizer. That's the stabilizing effect. We're going to drag that onto the clip. And then we're going to let it do its magic. It's going to take a second because this was shot in 4K and it's super laggy. However, once it's done, it'll look a little something like this. Alright, and the second way to get the cinematic footage is to color grade. And typically, when you're using a GoPro, you want to shoot in RAW format, which is the most flat and dull, boring colors. So that when you go into the editing software, like I said, I use Adobe Premiere Pro, but you can do this in literally any editing software. And when you go into the software, you want to add vibrance, contrast, exposure, or you can dull that kind of stuff, depending on what kind of vibe you're trying to get. So I'm just going to show you kind of like what I do to color grade my footage real quick. Alright, so we're back here in the editing software. I use Adobe Premiere Pro, but like I said earlier, you can use it with any editing software. So we're going to go over to the color tab. We're going to go to basic correction first, and you can mess with the temperature. I'm going to keep that relatively flat, however. And then you can also mess with the exposure, contrast, highlights, all this good stuff, shadows, whites and blacks. I'm going to reset it all so that it's not messed up, however. But my favorite part is in creative. I go to this little section here. I go to browse. And then I have a bunch of saved LUTs, which are basically just like filters, but for videos. I've found that the first one, Orion, worked really well, so I'm going to use this one here. That's already looking really good. However, I'm just going to add a little exposure to make it a little brighter. Now that's looking really good. And then maybe drop the highlights a little bit just because the sky's a little blown out. So now let's play it back and see what it looks like. Alright, and the final way in order to get the most cinematic GoPro shots is that you gotta shoot in at least 60 frames per second. If you're shooting in 24 frames per second or 30 frames per second, and you try and slow the footage down to make it look more cinematic, it's gonna be like a da-da-da-da-da-da rather than a smooth, just like slow motion shot. So at least 60 frames per second. If you can do 120 frames per second, that'd be even better. My GoPro, I've been shooting, where is it? Alright, so I have the GoPro Hero 5. This thing is literally an antique compared to the newest GoPros. For this video, I shot in 2.7K at 60 frames per second. It doesn't have 4K at 60 frames per second. However, that would be the optimal shooting format if you have that. If the GoPro Hero 6, 7, or 8, I think they even has that format. So literally you can do so much with this GoPro. This is an old GoPro and I got footage to look that good. So all I gotta say is that you can get cinematic shots with GoPros, and those are the 3 ways in order to do it. And just a little disclaimer, all those shots in the beginning sequence and what I'm about to do for the outro are all from my GoPro. I have a Canon M50, which I'm actually filming on right now. However, all these cinematic and like fast moving shots were all shot on a GoPro. Alright, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you really enjoyed it. I hope you learned a thing or two as well. And if you didn't, stay tuned because maybe I'll have more videos in the future where you will learn something. So please subscribe to my channel, like, comment, and I'll see you here next time. Peace.